TEPCO boasted that its generators were built to withstand the worst conceivable natural disasters. But to put it bluntly, this is not the case. You know, it's been raised in The Economist that most nuclear scientists are mostly sponsored by the utility companies, which compromises their independence. And basically, TEPCO commissions these experts to put out reports of what are the likely natural disasters to occur. And whoever provides the most conservative estimates, i.e. whoever says that the potential earthquakes are going to be the lowest powerful out of the lot, they then take that advice and build into those specifications, which means that when you have, as is likely to happen, an earthquake that's more powerful than those projections, as happened in the recent case, they are not prepared to. These buildings are not able to withstand that kind of devastation, that kind of power, and you have a crisis as we're now seeing unfold. And you know, this is purely a result of the drive for profit by this private company. And you know, this type of activity is unavoidable while the profit-hungry companies are left to run wild. You know, this is not a problem with one or two bad operators, with one or two bad people in government. This is a problem with the system overall. This is a problem with a system that is set up to provide a profit to its shareholders and provide a profit to the owners before the interests and needs of society as a whole. You know, there is a history in Japan of playing down the ramifications of these disasters, and you know, this is in evidence again in the recent crisis. In the early days, the TEPCO representatives and the government played down what was happening. They said there was no threat of a meltdown. They said there was going to be no health risk to people. There was going to be no serious spillage of radioactive material into the environment. However, as time has gone on, we have just seen the crisis get worse and worse, and the events that are going on have been revised to reveal the actual nature of the disaster. There were reports on the 31st of March that revealed that radiation in a village 40 kilometres away from the plant, which is well outside of the 20-kilometre evacuation zone, was above the level recommended for evacuation. However, the Japanese government has been slow to act, not evacuating these people, and there has also been a lack of information that has been provided. The government's claim that there has been no threat to health, but there have been higher than legal levels of radiation in the water supplies, and there has been foods such as spinach and milk that have been contaminated and are now banned from export from Japan. There has also been advice not to give tap water to people that are younger than 1 year old. You know, obviously this is just highlighting the fact of how devastating this crisis actually is. Something that the Japanese government do not want to admit. While at this stage the focus has been on the immediate tasks of addressing the crisis, the question of rebuilding will be posed and is beginning to be posed at this stage. Many Japanese people, in fact most Japanese people, simply can't afford to have earthquake insurance, which is extremely expensive in Japan, and are now going to be faced with the task of rebuilding their homes and piecing together their lives. The government is providing some temporary accommodation at this stage. However, this is temporary accommodation and will not be provided permanently. And in previous earthquakes, such as in 1995, the government provided no compensation to people who lost their homes and possessions, who were then forced to go and put themselves in massive amounts of debt to the banks to try and rebuild, or were just left on the scrap heap to get by. If previous examples are anything to go by, then the results of rebuilding will not be the rebuilding of people's lives, but they will be the lining of the pockets of the big developers and the building companies. This will be at the expense of the poor and elderly. You've already seen moves in Japan, talks of these so-called public-private partnerships, and of private investment in the rebuilding effort. You know, it's clear that it's going to be the speculators and the developers to profit out of this, and not ordinary people. Which I suppose poses the question: what would a socialist response to the crisis be? You know, we would argue for nationalisation of the building companies and of the big financial institutions under workers' control and management. We would argue for committees of residents and of workers to plan and coordinate the response to the crisis, and also to provide interest-free loans to those in need, those people that have had their lives destroyed. I think that you know, I think it is clear, you know, that renewable energy is capable of providing for all of our energy needs. The plain fact is, you know, what is stopping it? And I'd say that what is stopping it is the inability of capitalism to challenge the owners of big business, to challenge the owners of the big polluting companies, and force them to invest in renewable technology. You know, Gillard's answer to the issue of global warming has been for market measures, has been for a carbon tax or for a carbon trading scheme. But in reality, you know, these measures will not work. Whether it be a carbon tax or a carbon trading scheme, these schemes will affect the lowest paid the worst. The big companies who will receive massive subsidies as part of these schemes will simply pass on any cost to the end user, who will be the person that foots the bill, not only through paying higher prices, but also through their taxes and the massive subsidies that goes to these companies. There's also the fact that, you know, for these supposed market measures to work, in theory, what they do is they make the polluting industries so expensive to continue that they're forced to move over to renewable energy. But the plain fact is that no government is going to have the political will to do that under the market system, whereby if they were to make these industries so expensive they were forced to move over to renewables, they would become completely uncompetitive on the international market and would become completely unviable. And there is not a government around the world at the moment that is strong enough or that is willing to actually make that challenge. So the question is, how do we actually do that? And the way that we do that is through nationalisation of the big polluting companies, and to use the massive profits of these companies to actually directly invest in renewable energy. I might just, as soon as it's sort of lost ground, I might look at their comments.